everyone, welcome back to Absolutely Marvel and DC. My name is Benny, that is Hassan, and today we're going to be talking about Last of Us. From somebody who has played the game once when it came out, and I'm currently doing a replay through of it, and somebody who has never played the game, knows nothing about the franchise, and is watching the show. We thought this might be a fun and interesting take on this, and if you enjoy this and you want us to talk about this weekly, consider giving this video a like and subscribing down below. Also, check out our sponsor, GamerSupps. You can get yourself, this is Blowhole Blast. That's the name of this one. But you can get yourself an energy drink that is less chalky than its competitor. You get waifu cups. You get shirts like I'm wearing right now. Use the code COMICS at checkout and support us and our endeavors and get yourself a pretty good product. I mean, they're literally all behind me in the bottom there. I actually need to ask them to stop sending those because I've run out of room.
You'd think if it was called Blowhole Blast, it would be more chalky.
No, see, the thing was me and a buddy were talking. He thought it was going to be Baja Blast. He was insistent. It is not at all.
Oh, wow. That joke went over Benny's head, but people in the comments, you guys will get
it. I got your joke. I'm ignoring it because it wasn't funny. You think you're a comedian, you're not. Oh, deep dive.
Wow, let's talk about The Last of Us because I woke up this morning and the first thing I did was realize.
I want to apologize. That was a deep cut, and it was I shouldn't have said
Benny,
that.
I am a comedian. I don't need you to apologize.
I know.
Oh man, come on.
So tell your story.
Okay, so I woke up this morning. And I forgot that my one job for AMD this week was to watch The Last of Us, and it's something that I was excited to watch. Instead, my friends wanted to watch A Hot Tub Time Machine last night. So I woke up. First thing I watched was The Last of Us. So I literally got done watching it maybe 20 minutes ago. First experience with any of the media. I had literally no information going in other than, I think, zombies, right? I vaguely knew zombies. I knew Pedro Pascal was attached to it. I knew Bella Ramsey was attached to it. This was incredible. It was one of the most scary, anxiety-ridden, intense thriller things I've ever watched, and I hate zombie shit. I hate apocalypse shit. I hate end-of-the-world shit. I watched a season of The Walking Dead.
I wish you told me that before you. I was like, who wants to watch Last of Us for this review?
Well, the thing was, I wrote off most of those shows when, like, The Walking Dead happened. I watched the first season of The Walking Dead, and I was like, am I about to watch a whole show about nothing but nihilism and no one's ever going to be saved and it's going to be the end? And also, like, a low-budget ABC-looking-ass show. Yeah, that would be lame. The Last of Us. Oh, my God, the cinematography. And I have so many questions as to, like, which of those set pieces are from the games. Because and we can get into it later because I want you to talk about your background on it, too, before I do. But there was that one set piece where in the car in the beginning where they're driving through, like, the town or whatever. Yeah. It looks like a video game. It looks like QuickTime events where you're like, press Y to turn your gun and shoot the thing while you're driving the car, and like the camera's doing those crazy tilts. It was awesome. It was like one of my favorite viewing experiences in so long. I loved it.
Right, so this is, and you're going to hear me go more into this at the ending, but I've been arguing since they came out the Resident Evil show and the Halo show and all these shows that what they're doing in Last of Us is exactly what I've said they should be doing for every video game property. And they did it with Witcher Season 1 and then ruined it in Witcher Season 2. What I've said since the beginning is take the video games, the highly successful, multi-million-dollar selling video games, condense the gaming portions, but tell the same story. If your product does well, then you do spin-offs with whatever you want to tell a story in. My point with Halo was they should have just told the story of the first Halo. Make mild adaptations so that it works in the actual show format, because that's an old game, but they should have just done the Halo story with show adaptations, and then when that worked, told different Spartan stories. So Last of Us, I played at the original launch. Now, Last of Us 2, I have not played yet. I started it and got very bored. A problem that I've had with a lot of narrative-driven storyline video games is back in the late 2000s, early 2010s, they were very much focused on a good pace of game with movie. And as they got more and more popular, I feel like a lot of them got very... we could just tell an hour-long cutscene before we get back to the gameplay, and I don't like that pacing, and that's what lost me in Last of Us 2, though I intend to play it now. But I barely remembered the original storyline for Last of Us, so I didn't know when the show was coming out, and it turns out 5 days before it, Natalie and I decided to do a replay of the remake that they just did. So I've been literally 5 days before this was playing the game. So I have like fully fresh memories of the scenes. And the scenes you're talking about are lifted out of the game.
Yeah.
Like that's the best part.
That's awesome.
But they made mild changes to the storyline that I feel worked overall in general. And what they chose to do is, so like in the game, there's a segment where you spend about 20 minutes walking from point A to point B while the character Tess, who's in the show, is explaining a lot of stuff. And you get to see how the world lives. You get to walk through the tents. You get to see how they're doing things. But you don't see how extreme a lot of it is, not unless you're reading a lot of the notes. So what they did for the show was they condensed that into showing Joel dealing with the drugs, Joel getting in line for work, Joel then worrying about the food. Like they found a way to tell the same reveal without having Joel just walk through and read weird notes. You know what I mean? Like they found a way to do it. The opening scene with him, they played a lot more into what's her name? What's the daughter's name at the beginning? You just watched it, so.
Yeah, I did, but she was in like the first 20 minutes. I know the actress's name. I don't know her name.
Oh, okay. They did a lot more of her in the show than was actually in the game.
I assume so. It honestly felt like
Sarah. I wanted to say Sally.
Sarah.
I knew it was an S.
Yeah. I figured that she wasn't in the game much because I think I've seen like I don't remember anything like anything from those games, but I'm sure that like back in the day I saw the advertising for it. Yeah. And I don't remember there ever being a daughter. I remember that there's a reason he has attachment to this person. It's not his daughter. And that makes a lot of sense. And I thought, just to say that that actress that played Sarah, wow, she did amazing. Because she hasn't been in a ton of stuff. She's literally 18 years old, and I was gripped by her performance. Because she led the entire first act, was her leading it. So,
and they did a great job at that. I do like how the show decided to try and make you feel like Sarah was going to be the protagonist. Yeah. So if you didn't know the show at all, you were like, what is this? Who is it? Like, this isn't the people I've seen on the poster.
Huge shout out, Nico Parker.
Yeah, she did an amazing job with that, and they focused more on her. That neighbor, the old lady neighbor, that wasn't in the main game. The way the main game basically worked was, I'm going back like 2 weeks now because when we started it, but basically it was like 20 minutes. It was a sizable chunk of the game in consideration, but when the game is also 10 to 12 hours long, that 20 minutes is not nearly as long as you think it is.
Right.
That first episode spans about 4 or 5 hours of the game. That's what happens there. They changed like the plane crash that flipped the car. That wasn't in the game. In the game, he got hit by a semi. That's what flipped that over. That was one of the bigger changes. Yeah. They also played a little bit more into the day before because that doesn't happen. The Last of Us game primarily pretty much picks up right away at the evening with him coming back, being like, Sarah, we got to get in the car. Come on, we got to go. Things like that.
Yeah. So I think they did it. I mean, the way they did it, just from like a writing perspective, from a TV show perspective, they really had me invest in the character of Sarah. I think I kind of knew that she was going to die. I figured something like that would happen. I didn't know how she was going to die. I didn't know whether she was going to get infected, but I had the foresight to say this character's not going to be in the story. But they really, really sold that relationship, that dynamic, that like meaningful love between the two of them. Right. And that she's like a really good person. She's focused on school. She cares about her weird, annoying, old-ass neighbor, you know. She was, what do you call it? When she's reading the book also, did you notice in the background that the grandma's turning into the...
Yeah.
That was incredible. It's like straight out of a horror movie. It's like if you guys ever watch It Chapter 1, there's a scene where the guy's in reading a book in the library, and in the background, the librarian is actually Pennywise, and they're doing a bunch of freaky stuff around in the background. But if you don't see it, you don't see it. Right. So it was awesome. I really, really enjoyed that. And, yeah, I think that actor's performance made that death hit so hard.
Oh, yeah.
You really felt that.
I got to give her credit. The death scene was almost identical to how they handled it in the game, but they stretched it out. So the game, like, he picks her up, and, like, we just see that he's upset, and it cuts. It goes right to the 20 years later kind of thing. Or I think it was 12 years later in the game. But, like, it doesn't hold on it. The show chose to hold on that death so much longer, and he's holding her, and he's just, like, trying to figure out what to do. And it hit a lot harder in the show, because when it happened in the game, it was more of a shock. More of a, oh, what? What happened? And we cut. And you're just like, what? Like,
is she alive? Did she live? Is she going to be okay? Yeah, no, this one, I mean, it's great because then they call back to it later at the very end of the episode when they're trying to leave to go take Ellie to wherever they're taking her to the, what is it called? The main building. I don't remember what
what they're trying to do is they're trying to get her to the Fireflies. So they're trying to get her to the Capitol building at the end of the first episode.
So they're taking her to the Fireflies, and he gets a flashback to his daughter getting shot, and that's when he goes ballistic on the military guy. I love that.
I do like the game
so much better.
The show's doing a better job of showing the Fireflies as being an actual problem. At the point where we are in the game, they're only now becoming a problem. Like they're portrayed more as the hero group pretty early on in the game, while the show is doing a great job of immediately showing you, no, the Fireflies are like, they're the equivalent of eco-terrorists. They're trying to like blow everything up. They just want to take everything down. They don't care. And they're doing a better job, because there's one thing I noticed about the show versus the game. The game had 12 hours to stretch out these plots. The show is condensing a lot of it down. Ellie's afraid for like the first 2 hours, which is a lot of people's complaints, because she builds into that confident character, telling everyone to F off. But the show kicks right off. No, F off. I'm doing what I want to do. I'm going to have fun. They're also immediately building into the relationship with Ellie and Joel. That comes over time, because he ends up, and I'm not going to explain why, because it's a big spoiler for episode 2 as to why it's just him and Ellie in the game. But they build over time that she sees the protection element of him. Like he's more of a father figure to her. While on the show, it seems like they're kind of getting right to it. I know you didn't have time, but if you stuck around till after the credits, they had them come in and talk about what they were doing in the show. And that final scene, they wanted you to see that Joel was protecting the girl no matter what, having the flashback. But the reason they were showing Ellie is they wanted you to see the joy in Ellie's face that someone's protecting her.
Wow.
So they're trying to get right to the father-daughter dynamic. And while it does feel sped up, I do think they're doing a good job of getting us there, because they're still keeping the core plot elements that make you care in the game.
Yeah, and they couldn't have cast a better actor to do that. I mean, Pedro Pascal, he's so charismatic. It's fun. Both of them Game of Thrones alumni, Bella Ramsey and Pedro Pascal, both had their time on Game of Thrones. So it's fun to see them back in the role, or back in the mix at HBO, doing something high value, high production. Bella Ramsey, incredible. Oh my God, she's so talented. And she let her British accent slip here and there. There was like when she said Veronica in like the first scene, she's like, Veronica. It's like really British, just for like for like a second. But she's really, really good. And she played, I don't know if you remember, she played the little bear in the last season of Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
It was like,
who we thought was going to do something, and they got picked up and slammed.
She did a lot. She stood up. She said, you ignored the call. How about you guys?
Don't do your terrible
call.
accent. Don't do.
It's awesome. She's like, what was it? House Mormont remembers. We answer only to the king in the north, whose name is Stark. He has like a wonderful monologue. So I haven't seen her in a single thing since Game of Thrones. I know she's been in stuff, but this was awesome.
I do think she's doing a great job. If you compare the way that the game plays out, Ellie, and the voice actress for that, I can't think of her name right now, but she's big in like Critical Role and stuff. I do think she does a better job with Ellie than I think Bella Ramsey's her real name.
Yeah.
Okay, Bella Ramsey's doing right now, but that also might be because they've condensed a lot of Ellie's growth to get her right to where we need her to be. Because from what I've read, and I don't know how true this might be a rumor, but season 1 is supposed to be The Last of Us Part 1.
Wow.
Which means we're going to have about 10 hours to do what turns into a 12 to 20 hour video game.
Wow. That's
so
doable.
It is. It's 100% doable. But what they're getting rid of, and what I've seen them remove from the game so far, is there's a lot of back and forth between the characters between objectives. So as you're seeking around, they're talking and they're getting to know each other. A lot of the father-daughter elements pick up there. Tess and what's her name? The lady who sends them off to beginning. Marlene. A lot of their reveals happen between scenes. You know what I mean? Like there's one in particular where Tess, Ellie, and Joel are talking, and you're grabbing a plank, you're making a bridge. They're discussing how Ellie's never been outside of the city. So they need to find places to get a lot of this character development in, because you're not going to have a scene of Pedro Pascal picking up a board and be like, so what's going on?
Yeah. Well, and then I fully expect them to. I'm sure they sped through
Ashley
a lot.
Johnson. That was it.
Yeah. She's a voice actress. Yeah. Super talented person. She's in a lot of stuff. So I'm sure they'll do it later. It's a TV show, right? So you're in a pilot stage no matter what when you're doing episode 1. So you have to do a lot of big things, and you're not allowed to do as many little things as you would have liked to. So I'm sure they're gonna lean into like the subtleties and the character development and stuff like that. Because Bella Ramsey's character hasn't had a ton of screen time yet, so it's gonna be. I'm very, very excited. I was a big fan of that. I haven't had something really fun and high value to watch in a while. I think since House of the Dragon ended, I haven't had anything that's like, a multi-million-dollar TV show to on.
Well, they're not. Let's talk about that, because they're not skimping on the CG. They're not skimping on the cinematography.
No.
The sets look amazing. It looks like they know what they're doing.
I mean, it's like a horror movie. It is a horror movie or a horror TV show at times. I like.
I mean, it's a horror game. It is a horror game.
Well, zombies are traditionally in media like these slow-moving creatures that if you're a regular
because they're not
healthy,
zombies in this.
Yeah, they're like they're having a bacteria or virus inside of them or whatever.
So it's a fungal infection. You know that thing that can take over insects and drive them? It's that. The concept is that got overgrown and now takes over humans. That's all it is.
Terrifying.
So it's a fungal infection that is controlling them to spread the infection.
The way they were jumping and running and dashing, and that's the scariest thing imaginable to me. Because at the very least in my brain, zombie apocalypse, I'm going to outrun hella zombies. Don't worry. They're not going to catch me. I got speed. It's on my side. I ran track in high school. That's all I got. But in this universe, no, I'm dead. I'll die first. There's no chance.
So,
no way I'm going to survive.
I want to reveal a little bit of what's coming ahead based on what they showed in the trailer. So this isn't me going to spoil anything for you.
Yeah, I didn't watch the trailer, but
yeah, because I watched it all the way to the end to see this stuff. So what I'm curious about is the next episode. They're going to enter an area in the game where they finally reveal more about what the state of the zombie type creatures are. Because right now they look like zombies, but if you've seen anything on Last of Us, they don't. So the next area starts to reveal the clickers and things like that. So you'll stop calling them zombies next episode, trust me.
Gotcha.
What I'm curious about is in the game, that segment is like 15 minutes. But the way the trailer looks like, it's going to be the episode.
Wow.
To kind of explain what these kinds of things are. The other thing that they're going to be doing, and this is actually interesting, so the game, you notice that they picked up Ellie and she talks about she got bit, right?
Yeah.
There was a DLC to Last of Us that revealed how that went down. Okay, so it shows Ellie breaking out of the area. It shows her meeting up with a friend named Riley that was mentioned in the first thing. It shows them kind of getting closer than friends. It shows everything the way it plays out and how she ends up getting caught. If you watch the trailer, that sequence is going to happen in the show. They're just going to put it in. I guess she's going to reveal it at some point.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So it's going to be interesting to see how they're taking the DLCs that added 4 more hours to the gameplay. Are they going to dedicate an episode to that? Are we going to get 20 minutes where they kind of speed through it? How are we going to get this reveal in the show? So I like the pacing. I really do think it's doing a really good job. And I stand by this. The way I already want to see spinoffs by HBO Max in this universe. And they're going to finish this series. And, dude, they're going to tell you this amazing story. There's so much that in both games never gets revealed. There's so much, because the story of this game is, without, like I said, without revealing how we get there, but it's the basic thing. Joel has to get Ellie from Boston to Seattle. Yeah. So they go through a ton of stuff that gets like brief mentions, and you're like, what happened? How did we get to this? So it's great, you know?
Yeah. No, I'm so excited, and yeah, no, I have a little guess as to you know what's up with Ellie and where they're heading and stuff like that, but I'm not gonna say it here. So for us fellow TV watchers, we're gonna keep staying in the dark about the theory crafting on here.
I won't deny or confirm whatever your theory is, because I would love to see your theories as this is developing. For me and the audience who was, and don't read the comments because they're going to probably confirm or deny. This is the one thing I am banning you.
Chat. I'm closing chat right now.
Okay.
I'm closing chat, and I'm not going to read the comments.
Because it's going to be fun to see your theories as we're going. And I'm not going to confirm. I won't even make a facial reaction. I'm just going to stare.
Okay. So, obviously, Ellie survived the bite, so something in Ellie's blood can potentially cure everybody else or save everybody. So they need to get her to Seattle for some kind of, I don't know, medical situation. Maybe, you know, the end of, what is it, The Amazing Spider-Man, where they have to put the serum in the tower and spread it over everything to make everyone stop becoming lizard people. Something like that. That's my theory. Okay. That's my theory so far.
I want to see these every week. I want to see where you think it's going. Because I know where it's going.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm so gripped. I'm so gripped. This is the most entertained I've been by like non-anime television in a hot minute. So.
All right. Well, then I'm excited to see what if you guys like this, let us know in the comments down below. Check out our sponsor. But give this video a like and just say, hey, keep covering Last of Us. Because right now we're kind of in a drought until Ant-Man. I'd love to talk with Hudson about Last of Us on a weekly basis. I think it'd be a lot of fun. But I got to run. So Hudson, it's been fun. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here, hopefully, at our Last of Us review.